Let me tell you a story. It's 1941 in Denver, Colorado, where a house became the setting for a crime so strange, so impossible, that the police were completely stumped. But you see, the murder, that was only the beginning. This is the incredible true story of the Denver Spider-Man. So let's start with the central question, the one that had investigators tearing their hair out. You have a victim, a murder, inside a room that is locked tight from the inside. Every single door, every single window bolted shut. This wasn't just a crime scene. It was a perfect and perfectly impossible puzzle. Okay, picture this. October 17th, 1941. The police walk into the home of 73-year-old Philip Peters, and right away, nothing makes sense. The man is dead, but nothing of value has been stolen. The doors are locked, the windows are latched, there was no way for anyone to get in, and more importantly, no way for anyone to get out. Well, you can imagine, the press had an absolute field day with this. A real-life locked room mystery splashed all over the front page. But for the Denver police, it was a total nightmare. Every theory they came up with, every single lead they followed just vanished into thin air. A complete dead end. Their best guess was a burglary that got interrupted. That seemed plausible, right? But the theory always fell apart at the most critical point. How on earth did the killer leave the house and lock the doors from the inside on their way out? It just defied logic. While searching, they found this tiny little trap door in a closet ceiling. I mean, it was barely bigger than a shoebox. One of the detectives took a look and just said, no grown man could fit through that. And just like that, they dismissed it and moved on, having absolutely no idea the killer was literally inches away, listening to every single word they said. So, with the police completely stumped, the story takes this sharp, bizarre turn into something that feels like a ghost story. Philip Peters' widow, who was pretty frail and recovering from a broken hip, eventually came back to the house with a housekeeper. They were just hoping to find some peace. Instead, they found a whole new level of terror. It all started with sounds in the middle of the night. You know, that slow, deliberate creak of floorboards from an empty room upstairs. A weight shifting. A footstep where a footstep just shouldn't be. These sounds had no right to exist. Not when they were the only two living people in the entire house. And then came a smell that must have chilled them right to the bone. The stale, sharp scent of cigarette smoke just drifting out of empty rooms and hallways. A ghostly habit of a man who was long dead, or at least that's what they desperately wanted to believe. And then the final straw. Things in the pantry started moving. A can of beans, not where they left it. An entire loaf of bread, just gone. Now, look, on their own, maybe you could explain these things away. But all together, it painted this terrifying, undeniable picture. They were not alone. Well, the housekeeper was completely convinced the house was haunted by a restless spirit, and she fled in absolute terror. Can you blame her? The widow, too scared to spend one more night there, she followed right behind her. And so the house on Moncrieff Place was officially declared empty. But the real occupant, he remained. To really understand this ghost, we have to unravel the man behind it. And to do that, we need to go back in time, 5 weeks before the murder ever happened. This is where the haunting ends, and the true, unbelievable horror really begins. So on one side of this story, you've got Philip Peters. He's a retired, respected homeowner. And on the other side, Theodore Coneys, a man who was literally on the brink of starvation. Now, they actually knew each other from years before, just acquaintances from a local club. And in his total desperation, Coneys saw his old acquaintance as maybe his only hope for a meal or even just a few dollars. But when Coneys got to the Peters home, nobody was there. He found an unlocked back door, slipped inside just to grab some food. And then he saw it, that tiny trapdoor in the closet. He managed to pull himself up into this dark, dusty crawl space just moments before Philip Peters got home. And right there, in that moment, faced with being discovered, Coneys made a choice that changed everything. He didn't leave. He decided to stay. For 5 straight weeks, Coneys lived this unbelievable life of stolen moments and borrowed time. He learned the rhythms of the house, the habits of its owner. He basically became a ghost in his own life. But on October 17th, his secret world came crashing down. The house was quiet, a stillness that Coneys had come to recognize as being alone. He dropped down from his hiding spot, his mind totally focused on getting to the kitchen. He never even heard the soft snores coming from the next room. When Peters woke up and saw him, the old man's eyes widened in recognition, and in a split second of pure blind panic, Coneys grabbed the closest thing he could, a heavy cast-iron stove shaker, and he attacked. But here's the craziest part. In the aftermath, with the body at his feet, he didn't run. He just locked all the doors and climbed back up into the darkness. So 10 months go by. The house on Moncrieff Place just sits there, empty, a monument to a murder nobody could solve. But then neighbors started noticing things. A little flicker of movement in a window, a face they thought they saw in the glass. Someone or something was inside that house. So they called the police. At first, a search of the house found absolutely nothing. But two of the officers, they had a hunch. They decided to just wait. Inside the dark, silent house. An hour passes in total silence. Then, a click. It was soft, but it was unmistakable. They turned toward the closet just in time to see two pale, skeletal legs dangling down from the ceiling. The Spider-Man had come down from his web. Coneys confessed to everything. The murder. The 10 months he spent living in that cramped, disgusting attic. And in what is maybe the most chilling detail of all, he admitted he watched the entire police investigation happen right below him, through a crack in the ceiling. One of the detectives remarked, "A man would have to be a spider to live like that." The name stuck, and the Denver Spider-Man was born. You know, this terrifying act of secretly living inside someone else's home actually has a modern name for it: phrogging. It's a term for one of our deepest, most primal fears, the violation of the one place we're supposed to be safe. And the story of Theodore Coneys, it's one of the most chilling and most unbelievable real-life examples you'll ever hear. The Peters family truly believed their home was haunted by a ghost. But the truth? The truth was so much more terrifying. And it leaves all of us with one final, unsettling question. What's the real monster? The spirit we imagine lurking in the shadows, or the desperate human hiding just out of sight?